Imagine showing up to work on a Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, and you find that your company's entire database has just been locked down.
Yeah, worst nightmare. Every single record encrypted.
Right, and there's a ransom note waiting on your screen. But here's the really terrifying part. There is no human hacker on the other end.
Wow.
Like, no one is sitting at a keyboard in some dark basement. The entire attack from, finding the open window in your network to actually changing the locks on your digital vault was executed by an autonomous piece of code while you were sleeping.
It sounds like the premise for a sci-fi thriller, honestly. But as of the week of July 6, 2026, I mean, that's just our reality now. It's no longer fiction.
Yeah.
We've officially crossed this major threshold. The paradigm just completely flipped from AI being this, tool that waits patiently for your instructions to an independent agent that just goes ahead and drives the car itself.
And that massive shift is exactly the focus of our deep dive today. We are unpacking this really comprehensive dispatch that was published today, July 11th, 2026, by tech-reader.blog. It's a dense one, too.
It really is. So our mission today is to map out the absolute chaos of this past week for you. We want to cut through all of the noise so you can understand how autonomous AI just basically overnight rewrote the rules of cybersecurity.
Yeah, and why the corporate AI hierarchy completely flipped upside down.
Exactly. And, what this whole exploding marketplace of these frontier models actually means for your daily workflows. Because we know you need to stay ahead of the curve here.
Right, without getting bogged down in an avalanche of technical jargon, we're going to extract the actual mechanisms behind the headlines, the why and the how, so you have some real actionable aha moments to take into your next meeting.
So let's start with that nightmare scenario I mentioned at the top. Because before we talk about who is making all the money in this space, we really need to establish what these new AI agents are actually capable of doing entirely on their own.
Yeah, we have to look at the tech first. Right, and the Cystic Threat Research Team just detailed something called JADO-Puffer, which is, it's the very first documented end-to-end autonomous AI ransomware attack.
And JADO-Puffer is a massive wake-up call. I mean, it gained initial access through a known vulnerability in something called Langflow.
Which is ironically a tool developers use to build AI applications.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But what happened next is what makes this historic. It didn't wait around for a human to tell it what to do next. It autonomously swept the environment looking for API keys.
And API keys are basically the digital passwords that different software programs use to talk to each other.
Right. And it didn't just stop there. Once it had those, it pivoted laterally into a production MySQL database.
Okay, wait, let me stop you there. For someone who isn't a cybersecurity engineer, what does pivoting laterally actually look like in practice?
Think of a corporate network like a massive office building. A traditional, less sophisticated attack might just smash the glass in the front door, grab whatever's in the lobby, and run.
Just a smash and grab.
Yeah. But pivoting laterally means the AI broke in through a side window, crawled quietly through the ventilation shafts, mapped out the floor plan, found the elevator, and wrote it down to the basement vault.
Where the real valuables are.
Exactly, the database.
So it's actively problem-solving its way through the network in real time. And the reporting also notes it forged authentication tokens against a legacy Knockos configuration service.
Right, so Knockos is essentially a digital directory that helps different cloud services find each other. By forging those tokens, the AI basically printed its own VIP security badge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it could just walk right past the internal guards. And once it was inside, it encrypted over 1,300 configuration records.
And the detail that really, truly got me, it used a randomly generated encryption key that it never bothered to store anywhere.
Yeah.
Meaning, even if a company pays the ransom, the data is permanently gone. The agent just generated its own ransom note using over 600 distinct payloads, and there were 0 human keystrokes during the actual execution. But I do want to push back on the word autonomous for just a second here, because TechCrunch's reporting highlighted that a human operator still had to select the original target, set up the initial infrastructure, and actually hit start on the agent.
That's true.
So if a human is still holding the leash at the very beginning, is it truly autonomous?
Well, what's fascinating here is the nuance of that word. It's an important distinction, but it doesn't diminish the severity of the threat at all. Think of it like a fire and forget missile.
Okay.
A human might have to identify the target and push the launch button, sure. But once that missile leaves the silo, it navigates the terrain, adjusts for wind resistance, tracks the moving target, and detonates entirely on its own.
So it's basically acting like an employee.
Precisely. To use another analogy, older AI was like a recipe book. You could ask it how to make a soup, it would give you the instructions.
Right.
But agentic AI is like a sous chef. You say, make the soup, and the AI physically walks to the fridge, chops the onions, turns on the stove, and serves it to you.
That is wild.
What J.D. Puffer proves is that the skill floor for cybercrime has just plummeted. Historically, crawling through vents and forging VIP badges required a highly skilled human operator. Now, anyone who can afford to rent an AI agent and point it at an unpatched server can launch a devastating campaign.
Which brings us to the other side of the coin. Because if bad actors have a digital bloodhound breaking into houses, the good guys are obviously trying to use the exact same technology to defuse bombs.
Exactly.
And we saw a massive win this week with a model called Claude Mythos. Through an authorized security audit called Project Glasswing, it actually discovered CVE 2026-47729.
Right, which is a memory leak vulnerability in the Squid web proxy server.
Let's translate that a bit for the listener. A web proxy server is basically a traffic cop for internet requests. But what exactly is a memory leak?
Imagine your computer's memory is a bucket of water.
Okay.
Every time a program runs, it scoops out a cup of water, uses it, and then pours it back when it's done.
Makes sense.
A memory leak is a tiny hole in that cup. So the program keeps scooping water, but doesn't pour it all back. Eventually, the bucket runs dry, and the whole system crashes.
Got it. And the kicker here, which is just crazy, is that this specific vulnerability in the Squid proxy server is 29 years old.
29 years.
For nearly 3 decades, human security researchers missed it. Attackers missed it. And Claude Mythos just found it and flagged it before anyone could even exploit it.
It really highlights the sheer analytical power we're dealing with now. We're talking about an AI system parsing archaic, decades-old code architecture,
Yeah.
understanding the intended logic of programmers in the 1990s, and identifying a deeply buried flaw that survived generations of human oversight.
And that defensive promise is exactly why the government of Alberta just deployed Claude for their government cybersecurity vulnerability scanning. I mean, it's the first Canadian provincial government AI security deployment on record.
Which is a major geopolitical milestone, by the way. It expands Anthropic's government footprint into the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, stepping outside of just the U.S. bilateral framework.
Wow, right.
And Alberta is already reporting a significantly reduced mean time to remediation, which basically just means they're fixing holes much, much faster.
But there is a fundamental tension here, isn't there? I mean, Alberta is running a scanning workflow. It's defensive. The attack surface that J.D. Puffer just demonstrated expands far faster than a security team running a scanning workflow can possibly keep up with.
Yeah, it's an asymmetrical war at this point. The offensive AI is chaining together a complete attack lifecycle in real time, executing actual actions.
Right.
But the defensive AI, currently at least, is still largely being used to generate reports for human teams to review and patch manually. Humans are the bottleneck.
Yeah, if AI can now autonomously breach a database or, audit decades-old code in seconds, the corporate value of human labor just shifted entirely. And I think that brings us to the economics of this revolution.
This is money side.
Right. Someone is funding these bloodhounds and sous chefs. And when we look at the corporate battlefield this week, there has been a historic upset.
Oh, absolutely. Anthropic has officially overtaken OpenAI in annualized revenue.
The numbers from Fortune are just staggering. Anthropic is now at a $30 billion run rate. That puts them nearly $6 billion ahead of OpenAI's reported $24 to $25 billion pace.
Yeah, it's a huge gap.
And here is where I am genuinely surprised. OpenAI is the household name. I mean, ChatGPT is what everyone knows. So how on earth did Anthropic, who everyone perceived as the cautious tortoise in this race, manage to beat the hare?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it all comes down to where the real money actually is. And that's the enterprise.
The B2B market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
OpenAI dominated the mass market consumer reach. They won the cultural zeitgeist. But while everyone was asking ChatGPT to write poems or, plan their vacations,
Right.
Anthropic was systematically dominating procurement contracts and B2B workflows.
How did they do that, technically speaking? Like, what makes Claude so much better for a corporation than ChatGPT?
It's all about their architectural choices early on. Anthropic heavily invested in something called constitutional AI, which essentially makes their models highly predictable and way less prone to generating toxic or off-brand content.
Which corporate lawyers obviously love.
Oh, they love it. They also pioneered massive context windows. They trained Claude to excel at ingesting a 10,000-page procurement document, retaining the nuance of page 4, and synthesizing it with page
Yeah,
9,000.
that's incredible.
They built a model specifically for the tedious, complex tasks that corporations already pay billions of dollars to automate.
And the RAMP AI index totally backs that up. They track actual corporate credit card spending across more than 50,000 U.S. businesses, and it shows Claude capturing 34.4% of corporate spending compared to ChatGPT at 32.3%.
Yep.
Anthropic is basically the engine running the enterprise right now.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that enterprise dominance completely shifts the pricing models across the board. Just look at Fable 5. They rolled out their usage credits this week, and they're pricing a single agentic coding session at $100 for 2 million output tokens.
Wait, $100 for one session?
Just one.
And just so we're clear for the listener, a token is roughly a chunk of a word. So 2 million tokens is the equivalent of generating several thick novels of code.
Right.
But still, $100 sounds wildly expensive if you're used to paying $20 a month for a chatbot subscription.
It sounds expensive until you frame it around return on investment.
Yeah.
If you are a corporate chief technology officer and that $100 AI session just autonomously debugged and refactored a legacy code base,
Oh, I see.
a code base that would have taken a senior software engineer 3 entire days to complete, that $100 is a massive bargain.
Yeah, you just saved thousands of dollars in payroll and days of project time.
Exactly. The enterprise conversation is no longer, how good is this model? The only question driving the market right now is, when is the ROI actually worth letting it act autonomously?
The workflow really is the ultimate prize, and because that prize is so lucrative, the marketplace to capture it has become an absolute gold rush. I mean, we are seeing a flood of new models entering the zone.
It's crowded out there.
It is. But what really jumped out at me from the reading is that Western companies aren't the only ones dominating developer platforms right now. We're seeing a massive spike in Chinese models. What is driving that?
So a CNBC investigation just confirmed that Chinese models are quietly capturing an enormous share of U.S. enterprise token usage. We are talking 30 to 46% of all gateway tokens on developer platforms like OpenRouter.
Wow.
To put that in perspective, they held an 11% average over the prior 12 months, so it's a huge jump.
ZAI's GLM 5.2 is like the prime example here. It recorded 80 times customer growth and 27 times daily token volume growth in its first full week on the Vercel platform alone. And the SWE Bench Pro scores, which measure how well an AI performs real-world software engineering tasks, they put GLM 5.2 at 62.1%. That makes it highly, highly competitive with Western frontier models. But the cost is the real story here, isn't it?
It is 1.40 per million input tokens and $4.40 for output.
I mean, how are they undercutting the market so aggressively?
It boils down to Western frontier pricing versus Chinese open weight economics. Open weight essentially means the core mathematical parameters of the AI are made publicly available,
Okay.
which drastically lowers the barrier to entry for developers to tweak it and host it themselves. When you combine that with heavy subsidization and much cheaper compute costs in their domestic market, they can offer top-tier reasoning for pennies on the dollar.
So it's just pure economics.
Yeah. If a developer can get the exact same software engineering performance for a fraction of the cost, profit margins will always dictate their loyalty, not geography.
And all of this rapid commercialization is happening in what is basically a complete regulatory vacuum. The UN Global Dialogue convened in Geneva this week, bringing 169 countries together to discuss AI governance.
Right.
And the stark takeaway was that the technology is just wildly outpacing government's ability to adapt.
And that vacuum creates immense uncertainty for the companies spending billions to train these models. They need to know what the rules of the road are before they launch.
On that note, there was a scheduling development this week. A planned Oval Office signing ceremony for a new AI executive order was canceled.
Yeah.
And purely from a timeline perspective, that cancellation leaves the upcoming August 1st NSA and CISA framework deadline as the single confirmed governance milestone left on the calendar.
Right. Without any pre-August public announcement from the executive branch, that August 1st deadline has essentially become the de facto starting gun for the second half of this frontier model race.
Oh, interesting.
Every major AI company looked at that calendar void and realized they needed to push their models out the door immediately, to establish market dominance before the new CISA frameworks take effect.
Which perfectly explains the absolute chaos of Friday. I mean, it was dubbed the most competitive 24 hours in frontier AI history. We saw a tsunami of drops.
It was crazy.
OpenAI launched GPT 5.6, rolling out their Sol, Terra, and Luna models. They also launched ChatGPT work to try and claw back that enterprise space from Anthropic.
Yeah.
Anthropic fired back instantly with a preemptive strike called Claude Cowork, and then right in the middle of all that, Grok 4.5 dropped.
And Grok 4.5 is a fascinating case study in the trade-offs of modern AI development.
Because it has a totally bizarre benchmark profile. On one hand, it ranked first in agentic tool use, meaning it is the best at acting like that sous chef we talked about earlier. It also showed a huge lead in professional work on the Snorkel GDP-Val Plus tasks.
Right, and for context, Snorkel GDP-Val Plus evaluates how well a model handles highly specialized, regulated professional workflows.
Right.
Things like legal contract review, education planning, healthcare data analysis, quality assurance.
Heavy stuff.
Exactly. Grok 4.5 hit a 29% pass rate there, which is exceptionally high for those complex domains. It is also incredibly token efficient. It uses 4.2 times fewer output tokens to get to the right answer.
So on paper, it sounds like the ultimate enterprise tool. But looking at its broader profile, there is a glaring issue here. The hallucination rate jumped from 25% on the previous version all the way to 54% on Grok 4.5.
Yeah, that's a big number.
It is making up facts more than half the time. So if I'm a professional relying on this tool at work, and it is technically the smartest agent in the room, but it's confidently lying 54% of the time, how can I possibly trust it to act autonomously?
This is where we really need to reframe how we think about AI hallucinations.
Right.
We often view hallucinations as a software bug that just needs to be patched out, like a glitch. But in advanced frontier models, hallucination is actually a byproduct of creativity and advanced reasoning.
Wait, really? Walk me through that. How does reasoning cause lying?
So to solve a complex, novel problem like debugging an archaic proxy server or writing a brand new legal clause, the AI has to leap across vast spaces of information, drawing connections between concepts that aren't obviously related.
Okay, I follow.
The more capable a model is at making those creative leaps, the higher the probability that it occasionally connects two dots that really don't belong together. It constructs a highly plausible, confident answer based on a flawed creative leap.
Ah, I see.
The aha moment for enterprise users is realizing that hallucination isn't a glitch. It is an inherent feature of advanced reasoning that just has to be actively managed.
And that ties directly into the delays Grok 4.5 is facing in the EU market pending regulatory review. I mean, how do you govern a system that is incredibly capable of taking autonomous action, but statistically likely to make up facts while doing so?
That tension defines this entire launch window. And it shows how unforgiving the market is right now. Just look at Gemini 3.5 Pro. It completely missed its target and is currently stuck in a limited Vertex AI enterprise preview.
Ouch.
Yeah. If you miss your launch window by a month in this environment, you aren't just late. You are launching into an entirely different technological era.
Well, let's pull all of this together. It has been a whirlwind week. We saw the first truly autonomous AI ransomware, JadaPuffer, proving the technical skill floor for cyber attacks has dropped to near zero.
Yep.
We saw Anthropic quietly take the revenue crown from OpenAI by mastering those complex enterprise workflows. We watched Chinese open-weight models flood the developer space through sheer economic efficiency. And the frontier market basically exploded into fragmentation as companies sprinted to beat the August 1st governance deadline.
The main takeaway for you listening right now is that your relationship with this technology has to evolve immediately. The era of treating AI as a passive search engine is over. You are now managing AI as if it were a junior employee. And just like a junior employee, it requires a budget. It requires strict security oversight because, well, it can access your databases.
Right.
And most importantly, it requires a very sharp eye to catch those confident hallucinations.
It is an entirely new world of delegation. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over. The second half of this AI race is about to start. We have July 15th milestones hitting in just a few days, like the Dubao agent shutdown and China's new companion AI laws taking effect.
Yeah.
And looming over all of it is that massive August 1st NSA and CISA framework deadline.
The clock is ticking for everyone.
It really is. We know that autonomous offensive AI like JadaPuffer can act, pivot, and scale infinitely faster than human security teams can manually patch vulnerabilities.
That's the scary part.
If that gap keeps widening, if the offensive missiles keep getting faster while human defenders are still reading reports, will we soon be forced to hand over the keys to our entire cybersecurity infrastructure to autonomous defensive AI?
Mm-hmm.
And when the machines are the only ones fast enough to fight the machines, where exactly does the human fit in?